Hello, this is Anthony with the 8th-Bit Network bringing you our first review, this time of Devil May Cry 5. This review was written by Moscrow, and I'll be the one reading it today. This game was played on a base PS4. Devil May Cry is one of the OG video game series. Made first in 2001, it was originally a Resident Evil game, changed into one of the industry's most influential hack-and-slash games of all time. The game follows one of gaming's most well-known characters, Dante, the son of Sparta, as well as Nero, the protagonist introduced in DMC4, and also introduced is the new mysterious V. This brings the cast of playable characters to 3, never before seen in the initial release of a DMC game. When it comes to gameplay, this game is the perfect emphasis of everything fun about the gameplay of all of Devil May Cry games, and it shows Capcom's mastery of the genre. In this game, it eliminates one issue I had with previous installments, and that is the characters oftentimes felt stiff. Granted, I played the Devil May Cry games late, which means I played them when they were upwards of 10 to 15 years old. In this title, all the characters move fluidly and with little hiccups, and most notably of this is Dante. Despite the game moving more to Nero in terms of the protagonist of the series, Dante's never felt better. In DMC4, Capcom allowed the use of all of Dante's styles, which allowed Dante to simply but effectively be played in 4 different ways, making Dante the most complex, and thus the most flexible, of all the characters. Dante's styles are controlled by one button, Circle for PS4, with different effects depending on which style you're in. His 4 styles are Swordmaster, which allows for some various new moves for his weapon arsenal, Trickster, which comprises all of his abilities relating to movement and dodging, Gunslinger, which allows for more interactions with Dante's ranged weaponry, as well as Royal Guard, which operates as a timed parry mechanic, allowing Dante to block enemy attacks and respond with high damage encounters. Dante is the only character that can block. However, as mentioned, when the ability to use all of Dante's styles at once was added to DMC4, it clashed massively with Nero's comparable simple style of play. It personally overloaded me with so many different tools that it was hard to determine when I should use one over the other. This has now changed in this installment. His variety of tools has remained the same. However, it has now been simplified and made easier to use. This has been accomplished by things like Royal Guard being easier to get a confirmed block, Trickster having more dashes, Swordmaster having more unique and easier to use combos, and Gunslinger having more actual purpose. I've always felt struck using Swordmaster and Trickster, whereas now with the easier to use Royal Guard and more impactful Gunslinger, all of Dante's options now feel open and useful. In short, his skill cap is still high, however his playability at the start is much easier and thus way more accessible to less skilled players. When it comes to Nero, I didn't like playing Nero in the previous games. He seemed very one-dimensional in terms of playstyle with his Devil Bringer, which allowed grapple moves that were uninterruptible. In the story, Nero loses his Devil Bringer to a stranger, who literally stole his arm. With this, Capcom introduced the Devil Breaker system. The Devil Breaker is a prosthetic designed by Nico, a new character, that allows Nero to make use of new functions to kill demons. Nero equips unique Devil Breakers that allow, for example, the Gerbera Devil Breaker, the use of a dodge that lets you damage enemies when you dodge into them. They are limited, however, as they can be broken should you be damaged while using their unique effects. Like Dante, the circle button is what controls these new tools for Nero. Each Devil Breaker also allows a unique and more powerful version of their effect if you hold down the circle button for a short time. The price of using these powerful attacks is they will break the current Devil Breaker in use. Gerbera, the Devil Breaker used to dodge, will change into a fucking laser beam and it melts enemies. Of course, Nero also returns with his unique but simple gameplay. Easy to use, hard to master. With the increase of unique ways to play Nero through the use of his Devil Breakers, he's now a fantastic addition to the Devil May Cry formula in my opinion. And on to the newest member of the cast, V. The addition of V is an odd one, as unlike every character in the series, V does not run at his enemies to fight, but instead he focuses on his pets to fight. His ranged options are fulfilled by a griffin, a big-ass bird demon thing. His melee's taken care of by Shadow, a Black Panther. His pets have their own unique health bars, which changes the usual focus of your character and the enemies to your character, onto the pets. They're both active on the field at the same time, so they have to be watched or else they'll be killed, which means you'll have to do with not using their skill sets until they revive. That is an issue with V, as in combat, you're basically useless by yourself. You must take careful consideration to keep V, as well as his pets, out of harm's way to be successful. Most characters have a unique mechanic known as Devil Trigger. The only exception in DMC5 is Nero. V uses Devil Trigger to instead make his pets stronger, as well as summon the literally unkillable Nightmare, which is a blob monster that spits laser beams that explode shit. During Devil Trigger, his hair turns white, as well as instantly reviving all pets that are downed, which is more or less the player's get-out-of-jail-free card. I'm not sure what to think of V. His playstyle is indeed unique, but it seems lacking compared to Dante and Nero. This is most definitely due to his entire gameplay style being so far out of the norm, but that's okay. I find V enjoyable due to his odd nature compared to the rest of the cast, and I'm happy that Capcom is trying to make new and unique characters. And now on to music. There's not much to be said, great choices all around. However, Nero's theme for combat is clearly superior. The track Devil Trigger is fantastic. If you so choose, you can also make every other character use the track. Should you also purchase the Deluxe Edition upgrade for $15, you can gain access to every main track in the game. I personally replaced Dante's DMC5 track with the one from DMC3. I only suggest that you buy the Deluxe Edition should you be a long-time fan of the series, as its main function is some additional devil breakers, as well as the themes for previous games. Onto the level design. So, the level design is much different than previous games. Where there were several puzzles and such throughout the previous entry, this game has little to none in comparison. I think this is a good change, as the game focuses more on the beautiful graphics as well as the diverse areas to focus on the main draw of the game, the combat. It does kind of lose a sense of scale, as with the climbing at the Tem and Nigru in DMC3, but I do value the focus on combat more, and therefore it doesn't affect the score. Now on to story. The story is built for old players, most definitely. The story has many returning characters and has a lot of elements drawn from the previous games. I feel like the endgame option to recap the previous games is sufficient, however, it will not replace the knowledge gained from actually playing the game. I also believe the story is enjoyable enough to be entertaining to new players, but again, old players feel more welcome. As a player who played every game in the series, I love it. The newest addition to Devil May Cry is co-op. This is the first game that allows co-op, and it's an odd experience. It works somewhat similar to Dark Souls, but also not really. In certain missions, the player fights alongside one of the other characters, and at one point all three join together. It's random, but players can play with each other, and it works well when it does, and it's unique, but it doesn't really add much, as it is only select missions and you cannot selectively invite your friends. However, I have a strong feeling the Bloody Palace will expand on this concept. Overall, Devil May Cry 5 could be a 10 out of 10 game, but the game did not release a Bloody Palace, which is a personal favorite game mode, and everything else overall just makes for a fantastic experience. So we give Devil May Cry 5 a 9.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching the first review from the 8th-Bit Network. If you like this, let us know, and there's going to be plenty more to come.